Hello, this is Tolvo. Welcome to episode 3 of Let's Play the Monster Hunter World Beta. Today we will be hunting the Anjanath. It's a sort of vulture-looking big T-Rex type creature. It is the third hunt in the beta. I'll be changing up my gear just a little bit to wearing the Anja armor. It has higher fire resist, and I did not know this at the time, but it gives you an attack boost. Let's also switch up our little cat's gear to match. This is my favorite of the outfits for the little cats. I love dressing them up like a dinosaur. I'm also using the gun lance. The gun lance is possibly my favorite weapon I've tried in the beta. So the Anjanath is resistant to fire. It can breathe fire as well. Some of the weapons in the beta are fire-using element-wise, so you don't want to use them against the Anjanath. You can still beat it with them, but it'll be a bit tougher. I'm not sure if the gun lance's explosions count as fire damage, but it might also deal a little bit less damage to the Anjanath. As far as I can tell, it's weak to water, which makes sense, element-wise. Fire opposing water, water opposing fire. It's located in the ancient forest. You can track it. It leaves a sort of sticky residue behind to mark its territory. You can track that, track its footprints. The Anjanath is a little bit frustrating to fight in one way, and that its legs take less damage. By a decent amount. So weapons that don't have a good upwards attack can struggle against the Anjanath. It's not impossible. I have seen videos of people doing it, like using the double swords to defeat the Anjanath. But they're much better than I am. So I prefer weapons like the lance, the gun lance. The charge blade in its transform form can do it, with the axe. The ancient forest confuses me a lot, direction-wise. I find it very easy to get lost in it. There it is. As you can see with its head and upper torso, it does look quite a lot like a vulture. On its nose, it also has a membrane that can flare open that it uses as a sensory organ. I believe you can break it. I know you can break the legs, and you can damage the tail and cut it off. It also has those spines that protrude out. Usually when it does that, it means it's going into a very aggressive mode and will be attacking quite a lot. This is why I like to have the ability to attack upwards. The Anjanath is quite tall. It can be hard to hit its body. Preferably you want to hit it in the head. You can interrupt a lot of its attacks if its membrane on its nose is flaring up by hitting it in the head right then. You can even knock it down by doing so. Those spines that protrude from its back as well take increased damage. That's mostly useful for if you're either using the insect glaive, so you're up in the air on top of it, attacking it, or if you're using a ranged weapon. I've fought this creature quite a bit with friends. I have discovered that the balancing for it isn't exactly too well when in multiplayer. If you have just two people, it can be kind of hard to take down the Anjanath, because it just has so much health you have to DPS down. Also, that move you just saw a little bit ago is called the Worm Stake Driver. You have a worm stake in your gun lance that you can unleash every now and then. The gun lance also does have ammunition, so you have to keep track of that. What I like to do against the Anjanath is get in a good upwards hit and then fire. Get in a good upwards hit, then fire. If you manage to knock it over, the gun lance also has the ability to completely unload after 2 attacks upon the ground. It deals a good deal of damage, but won't do too much to the Anjanath's legs. Thankfully, the gun lance does come with a shield. I prefer to fight the Anjanath with a shield. It can be very aggressive. It will chase you down, even if you run to another zone. And I managed to get on its back. If a monster does buck you off its back, you can press X right away to use a grappling hook to get back to it. You do want to be wary when it's getting very aggressive, because the Anjanath can deal out a lot of damage. It has a lot of flurry attacks that it can just crush you into a corner with. As well, with its fire, it'll light you a fire and keep attacking. It can breathe the fire and also just cause it to burst out of its mouth when it's snapping at you, which will light you on fire and knock you back. So while you want to hit it in the head when you can, be wary of standing too close to its head when it's in fire-breathing mode. You can tell when the Anjanath is injured because it will be limping. But as I said, it does have quite a lot of health. Here's a good example of it. The Anjanath waited to turn around and attack me when I came for it. It likes to set up little ambushes wherever it is. So be very careful when you're just going around a corner chasing it, because it might be right there waiting to get you. It just knocked over a tree onto itself, causing all of the vines and underbrush to catch it as a trap. Some monsters stay in that for a decent amount of time, but the Anjanath can break out very quickly. Whenever you reload with the gun lance, you are able to make your worm stake come a bit faster. There are a few combos with the gun lance. Their main importance is positioning your weapon to where you want it to be. Right there was a missed worm stake. You want to position your gun lance while fighting it properly so that you can get shots off on the creature. You can also tell that the Anjanath is injured when it's got a sort of green or purplish, not green, purplish or bluish sort of spittle in its mouth. Thankfully, it is not a poisonous monster like the Rathalos. While the lance can guard against the Anjanath, you still can get knocked about quite a bit by all of its flurries. It was also very recently announced that the beta would be extended and would be coming back pretty soon in December. This is very fun as I didn't get to play with all of my friends, and I didn't get to hunt all of the monsters available. If it's the same monsters from the previous beta, I'll be showing off the ones I didn't get to hunt in this. such as the Rathalos, the Diablos, and I can't remember if I have footage of Juratotus or not. If I don't, then I can just do it in the next beta. But if it's a bit different and we get new monsters, I'll definitely be showing those off instead. Now we're back in the Anjanath's nest, where it's going to rest to try and regain some of its health. I can't allow that, though, can I? The worm stake rod, the stake driver, does quite a bit of damage, especially if you get it on a critical part of the monster. Even on the legs of the Anjanath, it'll deal a lot of damage. But with clever positioning, practice, and timing, you are able to get it onto those critical points where it can deal quite a lot of damage. Also in this floor, the Anjanath can cause you to stumble, but it doesn't seem to do so when you have a heavy enough shield. And when you can guard against it. But it can get stuck and fall through itself. But let's finish up this fight. In style. Straight to the dome. That was the Anjanath.
All right, you completed the quest. Congrats.
Time to carve this big puppy up. This big old vulture dinosaur pupper. And like I said, I'll be showing off more monsters when the beta comes back. You'll probably see me using the Thunder Lance, or whatever the lance will be in that beta, just because it's a lot easier to survive with. But I will be seeing you next time when we go into multiplayer, and I show off playing with some friends. This is Tovo, and I'll see you next time.